And we're live here on Overgrowth Radio. We had a little delay there. I think the censors were getting to us. The FCC. No, they can't. We're on the internet. That's right. So good evening. We're here in the Mile High. I'm medicated and very opinionated tonight. We've got a great show. It's just me, but I want to stop right here real quick and introduce my new producer and maybe turn the sound down on my computer. Jason joined us a couple weeks ago. Jason went on vacation. We let him go for a few days with his lovely wife and cruised back to Iowa. I felt sorry for him having to go back to Iowa.
That's all good, man.
So welcome to the family, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We look forward to a lot of good shows with you and a lot of making a difference. So we're gonna jump in. There's a lot of news this week. I admit I recycle news from other sites, and one of my favorites is stopthedrugwar.org. One of these days, I'd like to see us all get together and put together like an AP of news for folks like me and other hosts to be able to jump in, and the listeners, too, to be able to get to. Let's start in Iowa City. Another person was killed in an undercover drug operation. And again, this is like a same old story, different details. What I want to point out, and the same thing I pointed out in a story I highlighted a couple weeks ago, is it's the 43rd person to die in the U.S. drug war this year. That's scary because the last story I talked about, I believe, was less than a week ago, maybe a week, or less than 2 weeks ago, maybe last week's show. So we're racking them up, and it's senseless. The police, the lawmakers, I don't think they see that the price of the drug war has become far more than the drugs themselves. Let's jump over from Iowa, or, the Midwest. Let's stay in the Midwest anyway. Illinois, that's where I was born and raised. Very draconian. Yeah, my producer too. We like our Midwestern people here. We're good folks. Well, not really, but we pretend. Illinois, in all their infinite wisdom, a while ago they passed a law saying you cannot videotape public officials or police on public land. That actually goes against the Supreme Court ruling last fall that says you can videotape any elected official or public servant on public land. That confuses me. Most laws confuse me these days because what we deal with here in Colorado is federal law superseding our state cannabis laws. Yet in Illinois, somehow their laws supersede the federal laws. But anyway, they just passed another law that gives them the right during a drug investigation to tap your phones, tap whatever they want, basically, with no warrant. Again, this is contrary to a bill that they already had in place that prevented such things. It's an eavesdropping law. I don't know the number of the bill. It's been in place for some years. And, it's really scary when we take steps backwards like this. Who determines it's a drug investigation, number one? Number two, it's the judges. I understand, they point out in the article that, late at night it's hard to get a judge. Well, that's their job. Can't we have an on-call judge like we have a frickin' on-call doctor or on-call radiologist when you go to the hospital? I mean, are they not paid enough to take a page in the middle of the night to sign a warrant if it's really that important? And let's look at the bigger picture, folks. Is it really that important to get a warrant in the middle of the night for a street corner dealer? Because they're quoted in this article as saying just that, that the world of illicit drugs moves very quickly. This is Terry Lemon, an Illinois State Police commander. It is difficult to find a judge in the middle of the night, as I just addressed. And then he goes on, rambling. And he talks about, I could have already gone out and arrested a guy selling on the corner. Well, Terry, I want to address you personally. Maybe someday if I'm in Illinois, maybe we can talk in person. Dude, it's a guy on a corner selling a couple rocks, selling a dime bag. Is that really the focus of the Illinois State Police? Is that really where the focus of the Illinois State Police should be? Is that really where the focus of any of our law enforcement should be? I think most of our listeners know the answer to that. So, moving on. Good news, actually. Kansas. Jason, did you drive through Kansas?
Nope.
You are a smart man, sir. Kansas is scary. I had some issues there. A lot of people have issues there. They have, I don't know, maybe you've experienced this in your drives across the Midwest. They have in Kansas and a lot of the states around us here in Colorado, they're actually fake drug checkpoints. Have you seen those? Yeah, they the drug checkpoints, for those of the folks out there who haven't been informed on this, you don't, by law, you don't have to stop in these checkpoints. They're illegal to have. They don't pull people over for that reason. What they do is they stage cops before these checkpoints and after the checkpoints, and a lot of times above the checkpoints on an overpass, and they look for suspicious behavior. So if you flinch, if you see a cop and you get nervous, which a lot of us just see cops and get nervous, then that qualifies you to be pulled over by their buddies sitting down the road. And that's what happened to me. I guess, I have anxiety, so I guess being an anxious person got me pulled over in Kansas.
It could happen.
But let's talk about some good news there. Just a quick, disclaimer and warning for our listeners. Recently, like in Montana and a couple other places, we've seen cannabis cases go to trial where the juries have acquitted or, basically nullified. And it looks like they just did that in Kansas. Obviously, these things you'll never read it in mainstream media. It looks like from the blog of an attorney, probably, I'm guessing the attorney who tried the case, Mr. Intelligence over here. He talks about how serious the charges were in their state, which I think in Kansas, if you exhale cannabis smoke, it's life in prison. So everything's pretty serious there. But a level 4 possession, whatever that means, no drug tax stamp, which we all know you can't get legally, and a level 3 possession with intent. So I'm guessing they probably had like an ounce or something, a substantial amount in a state like Kansas. It went to trial and the jury was selected. And not only did they come to the judge and say, we won't try this case, they went on to rail about how cannabis should be legal and what a waste of time and money it was. Kudos to every single one of those jurors, because that's really what we should all be doing. Right. I have to have my producer agree with me because I'm lonely tonight.
That's what I'm here for.
Let's jump over to Cali. The West Coast is always a cool place. LA, as we talked about last week, that you guys lost your dispensaries. You're already fighting back. You guys have 10 days to get all the signatures you need. It looks like you have to get, what's it say, 27.4 is the total, and I'm not sure what the total is right now, but I know you're not far away, and I know that there is definitely the manpower, the will, and the support to do it. So keep up the good work out there and squash the ignorance. I wasn't really that impressed. I mean, we can talk about Colorado. I usually go through the states, and try to get some news, but this week was a little slow. Colorado, we've always got something going on here. There was a case, and, they talk about this like it's a big deal. It was in district court, and it was a case, obviously where a grower sought payment. It was a contractual law case. Long story short, which I don't know much about. And the judge ruled that federal law supersedes state law, and this has been recycled for a few weeks now in the news. And, they talk about at the end how it's a big concern for us. It's actually really not, because as we've seen time and time again, as I've sat in like Bob Krause's trial and Elisa Kappelman's trial and followed, Jesse's trial and different people, it all plays out in the end, and the facts come to light, and the judges from court to court, they vary. There could be an identical case a county over, and 9 times out of 10, they're not going to refer to that other case. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, in some cases, I wish it were different, because there's a lot of good rulings. I hope that people look at cases like Bob's and cases like Elisa's, people being judges, and they take those into account in their decisions. I think, in my opinion, there's a bit of an ego thing there. The judges aren't really into that. So, other than that, the states were boring this week, so we're going to go on. Corrupt cops. Jason, have you ever read the corrupt cops on this website?
No, I have not.
Every week, I pull news about corrupt cops, and whether or not I talk about it on the air is kind of relevant to time, but it always amazes me, because every week there's a page full of corrupt cop stories. It looks like in Wagner, South Dakota, they basically this cop, Jim Chaney, was hiding his girlfriend's meth habit. It doesn't really go into specifics, but I'm going to guess that there was probably more to it than that. Of course, he's put on paid leave because that's what cops get when they get in trouble. In Bridgeport, Connecticut, a couple of cops test positive. The bigger thing here, though, is they were actually part of like the VNI or VNU unit, I think is what they call it there. And they're talking about shutting it down over that. So I think they're looking at that and saying our cops shouldn't be partying. Maybe we should concentrate on real crime. Pardon me, I don't have a co-host to laugh or anything while I take a drink. Speaking of co-hosts, we are kind of methodically, slowly looking for a new co-host. If anyone out there in the Denver area is interested, just talk to me and we'll see what happens. So, Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey. Jersey's always corrupt. Jersey, Jersey's Jersey. We'll just leave it at that, The Sopranos TV show based on mob activity there. Has a reputation. I love Jersey. Got a lot of friends there. A police officer got basically 3 years probation for, it says conspiring with other officers to steal drugs, cash, and weapons. Conspiring is kind of a loose term because he probably has been doing it for a long time, and that's their way of playing it off. So I guess my producer said I need to hurry up because we're running out of time. So I'm going to jump ahead. I've decided to be stingy a little bit with my airtime. For anyone who knows me and who hangs out with me in real life, they'll tell you I'm kind of an opinionated person. And there's, over the few years I've been in Colorado, there's been infighting here and bickering and back and forth. And I try to stay very neutral. I try not to let my opinion out. With this segment that I'm going to do, I'm going to also try to stay very neutral. Whether or not that happens, I'm going to let you guys call me out on. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I've only got like a couple minutes for each thing. So the first thing is the ad ban. The ad ban took effect, I guess, last week now. It's been a few days, Monday, I don't know, somewhere in there. Anyway, it's not good. My opinion flat out is it's not good. Now, I got in a debate on a friend of mine's Facebook profile the other day about this. And that being said, you've got people out there saying, well, they should be able to advertise anything they want. Boobs, bongs, blunts, weed, it's all the same thing. And I guess the big thing to me that I want to address here, like I said, the First Amendment rights is enough for me to not agree with it. That being said, the face that we put forward, yes, ganja, weed, whatever you want to call it, is probably the same thing to you and I or anyone who has been around cannabis and is comfortable with it. What we need to think of are the people out there, especially the people who are undecided on the issue, who are not familiar with cannabis, who still see it somewhat as a scary issue that was kind of, put into that light by our wonderful government. So I think, long story short, guys, we've really got to be conscious of what we do as an industry. I don't think the ad ban was handled right. I think, in my opinion, it could have been weeded out through the industry, pun intended. And, we would call people out, and eventually that kind of advertising would hopefully fade away. And, if not, in the long run, whatever. The next thing is activists, and the support network in the whole industry. I want to start this by calling out activists. The medical marijuana industry in our country, really, not just in our state, was started by activism. It continues to be really fueled and protected by activism. That being said, anyone who has a vested interest in cannabis, if it helps you as a medicine, if it helps you recreationally, if you're just sitting on the couch and not doing anything, get off your ass, go do something. You can send emails, you can get on your laptop while you're sitting on your couch and be lazy and do that. You can make phone calls from your couch. I live with chronic severe pain, and I do as much as I can. I get on the radio and obviously scream at feds and scream at government officials and help patients and, make phone calls and make the emails. And I don't think it's asking too much. It's especially in medical states where you have the protection, that's provided by the folks who are out there on the front lines. It's a crucial time. We've all really got to do our part. And that goes for everyone in the industry, not just the activism side of it. If you are a business owner, a MIPS owner, if you sell pipes, whatever, and I got to give a shout out to all my wonderful sponsors. Basically, long story short, if you're making money off the industry, you really should be putting money back into the industry. However you see fit, whatever you see the cause, if you see a group that you think is doing good work, make a donation. Bottom line is, folks, without activism, we wouldn't have legal MMJ, and we wouldn't continue to have legal MMJ. No one would make money, and none of us would have safe access to meds. So we're going to cut away. Just keep that stuff in mind. I hope it wasn't too harsh, and we'll be right back on Overgrow the Radio.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley Brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley Brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance of the cannabis sativa plant. You can find the latest issue of the Hemp Connoisseur at more than 200 7-Elevens, your favorite dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Do you consider yourself a cannabis connoisseur? Then come be a part of the Hemp Connoisseur's first cannabis championship. Visit us at thcmag.com for info on how to sample the best medicine Colorado has to offer.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley Brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
Back on Overgrow the Radio. That throws me because I'm used to music, so when a commercial leads me back in, I'm like lost. So we've actually got a great lineup of guests tonight. We're going to talk first with Morgan Fox out in D.C. Morgan's a friend of mine that works with MPP, Marijuana Policy Project. They work to fund a lot of the initiatives in different states for legalization and medical. So we want to touch base with him about Amendment 64. Go ahead and hit it. And see what's happening and see what else they're into. I'm sorry. Just making sure my producer's not having issues there.
This is weird. Hold on a second.
I'm going to go ahead and plug our sponsors real quick, since some of them just played. The Hemp Connoisseur actually has been doing great. They started a segment with us, and they've had no problem filling their time. We've had a great time. It's really the premier magazine, in my opinion, in Colorado. It's very, mature. It's family friendly. It's, covers a wide variety of material. Very informative. Definitely pick one up. You can pick those up in 7-Eleven. I'm actually, Jason, I'm about to pick up my meds from them for the championship. So I think they have just a few spots left on the championship. So if anyone out there, has any interest in being a judge, definitely get in touch with them. And we'll move on to the Realm of Caring, which was also mentioned there. The Realm is awesome. What they do is they get oil to cancer patients, MS patients, pain patients, myself included, for really pennies. I mean, it's something that, again, as I was touching on before the break, any business owner that's able that can donate trim should be donating trim to them. So please do. You can definitely contact Josh and Jesse through therealmofcaring.com. And we'll move on to Green Monster Glass, because everyone needs a great way to partake. Green Monster Glass is definitely reasonably priced. I've got one of their sister products over here charging. We have a new rule here at the studio that we can't smoke bowls in our studio. Yeah, ashes, expensive equipment, that kind of thing. So I've got an Elevape here, which is a great little tool. It's one of the refillable vapes, as many of us have seen. The cool thing with this one now is you can count your hits. Not that I need to. I take a lot. That's pretty easy to count. Daryl's, they're great people. You can find them on Facebook. Get in touch with them, and they will stock the shelves for you. In Dispensary, another great dispensary down in the Springs. They've got 2 locations on Bijou. Yes, I'm sorry, Platte. Wrong dispensary. On Platte, and then out on West Colorado by Manitou by me. So check them out. I was in there a couple weeks ago, and I want to say they had like 50 strains. It was pretty impressive. And I'm kind of a nerd. I like to sit there and smell them. Are you having any luck calling him? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, get him on the phone. I'm teaching him. He's new. Jason's new. Yeah, you can keep dialing while I ramble. I just ramble for days. And when he picks up, I'll shut up. We Grow Colorado. That's the one on Bijou in Colorado Springs. Go see Drew and G and give them some love. And I'm going to pause for a second. Uh-oh. Might have to call Morgan back.
You have reached the Springs.
You can hang it up and we'll call him back. So we're going to talk a little bit to Morgan when we get in touch with him. I'm going to have my producer just redial him over and over until we can get in touch with him. Amendment 64, for anyone who's not familiar here in Colorado, we've talked about it here on the show. We've had Mason on previously. He's kind of the proprietor of it here in our state, if you will. It's definitely, in my opinion, a good thing. I think it could go much further. The ideal for me would be repeal, obviously. I think that's taking a much bigger bite out of the apple.
The Sprint.
Well, keep trying him in a minute, but I'm just going to keep rambling. It's taken a much bigger bite out of the apple than what we're really ready for here in Colorado. We are, in the grand scheme of things, we live in a conservative state. And for us to just jump in and say, let's repeal all cannabis laws and treat it like, parsley or whatever is a little extreme. We have to win over the folks that I was talking about before the break, the Christian right. The people who are right there in the middle might not be super uber Christian, but aren't really, patients or haven't been around it enough to be familiar with it. So you can hit him again. If we don't get him in a couple more times, we'll just move on and ramble some more. We'll continue on 64, though. We actually had some issues with 64 getting on the ballot. There's been recent initiatives for MMJ, like in Arkansas. And I was worried, personally, that it wouldn't happen there because I figured they would kick them back like they did here and say, oh, these aren't valid signatures. I think, in my opinion, the hard part with 64 is over.
You have reached the Sprint.
Okay. Maybe we're not going to get Morgan on. That's okay, dude. We'll keep rambling. The hard part with 64 is really over. I think, from here on out, we just have to win voters' hearts and minds, guys. We have to get out there and really hit the streets. I know when I'm out and about, when I'm at whatever coffee shop I'm at that day, I always talk to people about 64. I was actually at my little local spot yesterday, the day before, and I was really kind of shocked and surprised that a friend of mine that works there, she didn't know anything about 64. She's very much in support of cannabis. She just didn't know. So it always surprises me, the folks that don't know, and it's really up to us to be the ones that teach them, to get out there and just the simple facts. I mean, the comparison to alcohol is great. It gives a good, baseline to folks who don't know what's going to happen. A lot of these people are scared that cannabis is going to take over their neighborhoods and it's, going to be some big, evil, horrible thing. Once you actually sit down and talk to these people, 9 times out of 10, you can talk some reason into them and make them realize that's not the case. I personally take a lot of pride in trying to educate the far right, and every time I get one or two to come around, it's so rewarding. So, Jason, I'm going to make you queue up another commercial because I'm going to try to get a hold of Morgan and see if we can salvage a little time with him. Who knows? Things happen. But we'll be right back if he's ready. We're going to take a little break again, about 5 minutes early, and pay more bills. We'll be right back on Overgrow the Radio. Peace.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley Brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Dispensary in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley Brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our 2 locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance of the cannabis sativa plant. You can find the latest issue of the Hemp Connoisseur at more than 200 7-Elevens, your favorite dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Do you consider yourself a cannabis connoisseur? Then come be a part of the Hemp Connoisseur's first cannabis championship. Visit us at thcmag.com for info on how to sample the best medicine Colorado has to offer.
My name is Gary Johnson. Today I reach out to you, members of all political parties. I reach out to everyone with a vote and an axe to grind. From the Tea Party, the Constitution Party, the Green and Libertarian parties. I call out to all of you, including the disaffected and disillusioned among the Republicans and Democrats. Today there's a handful of people in Washington ruining America for 330 million of us. They've kept our nation in a state of perpetual war and increasing unsustainable debt. This small group has presided over the elimination of our Bill of Rights and the systematic dismantling of our freedoms guaranteed us under our Constitution. It is them we should be fighting, not each other. We the people will never agree on the small things, but let's agree on the big thing. Our leaders have blown it. If we don't get control of this ship together and fix it together, we all go down with it together. I ask you to join me in trying something that's never been attempted before in America. Let's put our parties and our differences aside one time. Be libertarian with me for one election. Together, we'll stop the spending and end the wars. Together, we'll rebuild our own roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals instead of building theirs half a world away. Together, we'll restore our industrial might and our economy. And if in 4 years we as a people decide we don't like peace, prosperity, and freedom, we can always vote tyranny back into office again. America is better and brighter than this. Be libertarian with me this one time, and I'll prove it to you. Live free.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
I kind of dig that. I'm not sure whose voice that is, but that's kind of a funny commercial. Mad Hatter's is a great place. Have you ever been there?
No, I have not.
They got some cool shit. You should definitely stop in. Go ahead and dial Mason up. We're just going to flip-flop things around. I apologize. Morgan actually got caught up in a meeting, so we're just going to put him back until 8 and try him again. We'll start locally, though. We'll talk to Mason Tvert, and Mason is, as I said, kind of the main proponent here for 64. We've crossed paths many times. I admire his work. He's definitely one of the hardworking activists I was referring to before. They can always use contributions. Good cause. Can you turn my headphones up a little? Thank you, producer. Hey, Mason, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
You're on live on Overgrowth Radio with Stickman and my wonderful producer, Mr. Jason.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks for being on. I want to, as I was just telling our viewers, we kind of flip-flop things a little bit. We missed Morgan. I think he was late coming out of a meeting, so we're going to give him your original spot.
No problem.
So I want to really kind of start, real quick with you, Mason. We had you on before, and you did do an overview, but, there are new viewers and folks out of state who are just completely unfamiliar with 64. So I really want to start with you, let you introduce yourself, and give just a brief overview.
Sure, thanks. Well, my name is Mason Tvert. I'm a co-director of the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, otherwise known as Amendment 64. And that's essentially what the initiative will do, is it will establish a system in which marijuana is treated very similarly to alcohol here in Colorado. So basically what that means is there will be no penalties for adults who are 21 and older for possessing and privately using marijuana. There will be a system in which we have licensed cultivation facilities and licensed retail stores and associated facilities where marijuana can be produced and sold in a manner similar to alcohol with proof of age. And it also has the bonus of allowing for industrial hemp cultivation in the state of Colorado, which is certainly going to be a significant benefit to our farmers and people throughout the state. And the initiative, just like with alcohol, it allows for a tax to be placed on marijuana, and it's capped at up to 15% on wholesale sales. And it's expected to generate upwards of $60 million per year in savings and new revenue over the first few years, and potentially more than $100 million per year after that. So it's really a historic opportunity, and we've got a chance to end marijuana prohibition in the state. And we hope people are getting excited about it.
Well, I think so. I made the comment before you came on that, a lot of the hard work, I think, as far as the tedious stuff is done, it's more, there is a lot of work, don't misunderstand that, in the fact that now it's almost a different level where we just have to really get out and educate people to the lack of dangers with cannabis. What is your guys' focus right now as a campaign, and where can we help? Where can citizens help?
Sure. Well, we're attacking this from a variety of fronts, and we're fortunate to have a lot of support and a huge infrastructure that we've built up over the last 7-8 years. So we do certainly plan on doing a good deal of paid advertising, television, and potentially some radio, stuff like that. We've already had some billboards and whatnot. we've been really actively building a coalition. We started out with just a large number of organizations and thousands of activists throughout the state and around the country from the beginning here. But now, since then, we've been building an even broader coalition. Today, in fact, the NAACP here in Colorado endorsed Amendment 64 and joined a number of other prominent organizations, so that's exciting. And then we're, of course, getting people active on the ground. So that involves canvassing door to door as well as at events and getting information, literature to people. And we got stickers, buttons, T-shirts, just the whole 9 yards to really make sure people are aware of this and to make sure they understand the facts surrounding the issue.
What's, just in what you've seen, Mason, I talk about a lot. I like to talk to the far right. It's a hobby of mine. I take pride in the ones that I can get to kind of, open up a little. What's your reception? I also hit on the fact that really Colorado in general is still pretty conservative. What is your, I guess, reception from the far right and the religious right here? Or what has it been so far?
Well, when it comes to what would be, I guess, considered by most to be the far right or the religious right, it's generally not very supportive. But that's a far cry from the standard conservative or moderate to conservative voter. And what we do see is that we do have a fair amount of support. While we have a significant majority of Democrats and actually a strong majority of independents, we do actually have, anywhere from 35 to 40% of conservatives, people who identify themselves as conservatives. So, this is an issue that spans the ideological and political spectrum. We've seen everyone come out and support this, from the state Democratic Party in Colorado to Pat Robertson, the conservative evangelist. A majority of the county Republican Assembly here in Denver voted to endorse the initiative. So, we do see a lot of conservative support out there.
Well, I was talking today. I'm doing this. I got a great perk, a freebie, the 5Cs Cannabis Run. So I go around to these dispensaries and get to pick up free meds. And I was in a place here in Denver today and talking to the lady who manages the place. And we had a great conversation about 64 and what's going on and the trend. And I think, she made a great comparison to alcohol prohibition, because really what we're seeing is kind of what we saw then. You just mentioned Pat Robertson. We are seeing that it's now spreading across really all demographics, women, religious, it doesn't matter. I think, and just to get your opinion off topic a little bit, do you think that's the education that folks like you and I are out there doing? Are we seeing results? Is that why this is happening?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a shift in how the public views marijuana, and that's been taking place very quickly over the past, 5 to 10 years here in Colorado. We've seen a huge amount of growth and support, and it's due to a number of things. Certainly activist efforts to build support and educate the public. Certainly the organization that I've run here, SAFER, has been working to make sure people understand that marijuana is actually less harmful than alcohol, something that a majority of people had previously not believed to be the case. We've also seen a great deal of effort put in toward establishing medical marijuana and the state-regulated system here in Colorado that is showing people that we can do this. We're not necessarily needing people to imagine so much anymore. They see that there can be regulated marijuana stores in their cities, and it's not a problem. They're not causing crime, and they're not hurting kids. In fact, we've seen teen marijuana use go down since we started regulating medical marijuana here. So, they're just starting to think, well, this whole notion that we should be spending all this time and money and hurting people by arresting them just for marijuana is silly. And as that happens, more organizations, more leaders, prominent individuals come out and give that affirmation that it is okay to support this. And that's what it takes, is people hearing that it's okay to support this.
Absolutely, Mason. Next, and you're a great sport, and I'll continue to promote you guys because, well, I love 64, and you are a great sport. I want to play, if you'll bear with me for a few minutes here, I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate, and then, we'll make sure we get everything properly plugged before we get you out of here. There are concerns, as I just said. There are a lot of conservative folks here who aren't on the right page yet, and those are the people that I really want to sit down and have coffee with and be able to chat with. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to address their concerns, but there are a couple different things that I hear in objection to 64. Basically, I guess the big one is this going to open doors? I mean, is there just going to be cannabis everywhere? You know what I mean?
Well, marijuana is something that has been considered universally available by our government for years now. And, even high school students have now reported for going on decades that they can access marijuana easier than they can purchase alcohol. So, this notion that there's somehow going to be more marijuana available. I mean, the fact is it's entirely available. Whoever does want it can generally access it very easily right now. So, what we can do is control it and make it harder for young people to get their hands on it. And we can make sure that there's a standard of quality to the product and that it's being sold legitimately, and that we're making sure we're asking for ID and proof of age. So, that really shouldn't be a concern. If you really are concerned about marijuana and there being too much of it, then you basically should want to control it, because right now there's no control of it whatsoever when it comes to non-medical marijuana, and it is everywhere.
Well, and the bottom line there, and again, our government says so, we have more drugs and more users than ever before in our nation's history. And I like to say anyone who wants to get high recreationally is already doing it. It's just a matter of where we're sending the money and who we're letting use it. I also want to touch real quick on a point you just made, that with what we've seen here with MMJ, we've seen statistics go down for teen use and different things, driving fatalities. And, in my mind, at least, that's direct correlation to our regulation and to, it shows how hard it is for young people to obtain cannabis in a medical state. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically there's two ways that we could go about handling marijuana. We can completely, not control it at all and have a prohibition on controlling marijuana, which is, generally what we have right now, aside from medical marijuana, is that the government is not allowing the control of marijuana, or we can actually control marijuana. And that's what we're trying to do here. And by that, we're simply saying that, this should be a legal product for adults. It's something that should be sold legitimately in a store, just like alcohol should be. And, we can have reduce a lot of the problems associated with marijuana, most of which are associated with its illegality. So, we really don't see a whole lot of bad side to this, because, ultimately marijuana is a far less harmful product than alcohol. So, we're not talking about increased public health costs, because there really aren't significant public health costs associated with marijuana. In fact, what is projected is that the health cost for marijuana use is about $20 per user per year, whereas with something like alcohol, it's 8 times that amount. So, it's really, not a problem, even if we see an increase in marijuana use amongst adults who are using it responsibly.
Well, I have to ask if that $20 might just be for Visine.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, we need to acknowledge that marijuana is not entirely harmless, and
sure,
there are certainly some people who, do develop a problem with it, just like they might with alcohol or with food, for that matter.
Right.
So, but by and large, it is a relatively benign substance, and it doesn't cause the problems that we see associated with things like alcohol. So, we should not be scared to talk about the fact that if this passes, maybe there might be some adults who decide, well, you know what, I feel like having some marijuana tonight instead of going out for cocktails. And that's really not a problem.
No. And like we just talked about, the traffic fatalities in medical states we've seen drop significantly. So I actually see it as a plus. I'm a little extreme. I ingest a lot of cannabis for pain, but I also see it in a lot of aspects as a preventative medicine. I'm really excited about, we're working with Dixie now, and I'm really excited about them getting the CBDs out across state lines to folks. I see so many benefits, and it's just, it's ridiculous. And, kudos to you. You're not off the hook yet. I've got a couple more questions, but kudos to you and you guys for what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Another thing that I hear, and as I said, I'm very unbiased, so this is all hearsay, is as patients, there's a concern that Amendment 64 is going to endanger our system as patients and caregivers.
Well, it's just, there's absolutely no reason for that to be a concern. I mean, essentially, the initiative explicitly says that it does nothing to change the current medical marijuana system. That's something a number of medical marijuana center owners who plan on maintaining their current medical model, and they support the initiative. They pass out literature, they help collect signatures, and if it passes, they are confident that their patients have developed a relationship with them, and patients will not, these medical centers will not be subject to an excise tax, so marijuana is going to be less expensive based on any sort of common sense. And ultimately, marijuana prices will go down as they have already. I mean, even under the initiative, it's projected that in 2017, an ounce, even if they tax marijuana at the wholesale level of something at 50% or more, an ounce of marijuana would still only cost about $130. So, there's really, this is often an argument that has been sparked by individuals who opposed the initial medical marijuana law here in Colorado to begin with, because they claimed that it was somehow going to hurt patients when in fact it has protected patients. And then they opposed the state-regulated system of medical marijuana, saying it would hurt patients when in fact it's made marijuana far more accessible. It's also made it far less expensive than it's ever been in history here in the state. And now they're saying that this initiative is going to hurt patients when in fact it's going to do nothing but benefit people. And there are a lot of people who are patients but are not recognized under our current medical marijuana law. So there are people with post-traumatic stress disorder, people with things like Tourette's or autism or any of a number of conditions that are not currently covered by our state's medical marijuana law. And those people will no longer face arrest and prosecution.
Absolutely. And I'm even going to back you up on that one. I try to stay unbiased, but when I've heard that, about 95% of it has been from dispensary owners, and that's not to put dispensary owners down. The ones in my life anyway are amazing people. I'm so spoiled. I have no qualms. But, it makes me wonder when I'm hearing it primarily from them or when it's from patients and I ask, well, where'd you hear that? Well, from my caregiver. It really makes me question if it's money motivated. Because like you just said, supply and demand, the prices are going to go down for patients. That obviously means that either, center owners will have to sell more or, whatever the case may be. They could lose money. And sadly, there's still that element in our industry, and I hope that's not it. I really do.
Yeah, and I can certainly appreciate concerns of folks who have invested so much into establishing medical marijuana centers here in the state. It is not easy, it is not cheap. But ultimately what it comes down to is that if we expect to continue to have any sort of regulated system of marijuana production and sales, we need to take this step because, you see what happened in other states where they're not moving forward is that they're moving backward in some sense. Look at California, they're seeing more federal interference than ever before. We need to really solidify this, and the notion that we would rather send the message to the federal government that the people of Colorado do not think marijuana should be legal is going to help our medical marijuana system, as opposed to the people of the state overwhelmingly saying, not only do we think it should be allowed for medical purposes, it should be allowed for all adults. That really takes a lot out of the federal government's ability to do anything because this is all politically based. So, ultimately, I appreciate where some folks might be coming from in terms of their individual concerns for their businesses, but at the risk of 12,000 people being arrested and prosecuted in the state every year, it's just not a bargain that we're willing to take.
Absolutely. You actually led me into my final little question for you before we get you out of here. And that's another concern is what does this do with the federal government? We know I consider us a little more protected with our medical program because of our ties to the state. Do you see this as yet another layer of protection against them, or do you think it's going to come to a head and we're going to need to fight it out in court?
Well, I don't think that there's any better step or action that our state could take to ensure that the current system can continue, the medical marijuana system, than passing this initiative. We need to, this is a political issue. I mean, the federal government, if they wanted, could come in and shut down every medical marijuana center in the state. Mm-hmm. But they don't, because there is no political will there. They've seen that the vast majority, almost 2/3 of Coloradans, think that this regulated system is a good thing. They've seen the legislature say that it's a good thing by and large. So they just don't have the political capital to come in and shut it down. Whereas in a place like California or Nevada or Montana or wherever it might be, where they're not state regulated and they don't have as much public support, they are able to go in there and conduct raids and do far more. So really, that's why we've seen the federal government focusing now only on centers that are within 1,000 feet of the school. And so, they need to have something to fall back on in order to have an excuse to do this stuff. So we have the ability to really make it even harder for them to ever shut anything down here. And we have the ability to actually steer their activities in an entirely different direction. And, they know that that's inevitable. And this is the only way that we're ever going to make it happen. So ultimately, when this passes, it will be legal for adults to possess up to an ounce of marijuana and grow up to 6 plants in their homes and possess the yield, regardless of what the federal government says or does. And
Absolutely.
We're putting the federal government in a place where they need to decide, are they going to allow our state to control this legal product, or are they going to force it to be uncontrolled?
Right. Unfortunately, in the federal government, they've kind of forgotten what the Constitution is and the 10th Amendment about leaving states' rights alone. Mason, I appreciate your time. Before we have to let you go, let's get your info out. We want everyone involved in getting this passed, and we want common sense in Colorado.
Yeah, appreciate it. People who are interested should check out regulatemarijuana.org. That is the campaign's website. And if you are already supportive and you want to just get right involved, we have a whole action center online at talkitupcolorado.org. So regulatemarijuana.org, talkitupcolorado.org. We welcome assistance from anyone, anywhere. So.
Absolutely. Well, I just went on a rant at the beginning of the show saying how if you're making money off the industry, you had really better be giving back. Without people like you and everyone out there who does this kind of stuff, there is no industry. So, sir, keep up the good work, and we will get you back on very soon.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
No worries. Enjoy your evening. All right, so I think we're going to go medicate and regulate, like alcohol. We're going to take a little break. We'll be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to get more.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit the realmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our 2 locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
Yeah. Chevy. You hear me? Good. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I just keep it G, I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I just keep it G, I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G. Convertible top off, I just keep it G, G, I just keep it G, G, I just keep it G. Know your bitch wanna fuck with me cause I keep it G. You's a sucker nigga, I'm a nigga from the streets. Get it in the heat, we ain't talking top. Ho nigga, you sweet, pillow talking to them broads. Never seen a key, I ain't talking open doors. I'm talking about that white glass house, marble floors. I got them bitches bagging up, and they all naked. That's A1 steak sauce, you ain't gotta test it. It's hotter than a motherfucker, all my stoves on. By the night, all the work gone. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I just keep it G, I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I talk my shit, I just keep it G, I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G. Clear cut stones, water jewels. See my shit, it look like a pool. Don't mind me though, I'm just doing me. This the regular, this the life I lead, or the life I live. Don't mix it up, unless it's weed. Twist it up, I just keep it G, G. I just keep it G, G. I don't fuck with you, you don't fuck with me. I'm about my paper, I'm about my scratch. You about your bread, gon' handle that. Feast my nigga, it's a big table. Comcast, no fishing, I'm watching cable. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I just keep it G, I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I just keep it G, I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G. 2 red cups, one filled up with hella ice. OG Kush, could tell just by the smell it's right. Tried call my phone, but I was on a private flight. You be tricking off, but I just give her hella pipe. Plus she rep my gang, she roll my weed, she down for life. I say get on this plane, and I ain't gotta tell her twice. I'm out here doing my thing, I'm ballin', this ain't all for me. I bought 6 of them chains and gave them shits to all my niggas. Made the money, tall my nigga, winter, summer, fall my niggas. If there's ever problems in your face, don't have to call my niggas. You reppin' Taylors, that's what they call my niggas. I'm rolling papers to smoke with all them niggas. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I just keep it G. What up, Shad Bag? I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G. Cookout. 2 red cups, gin in it with mad ice. Smoking like a Taylor, oh for sure, you for sure right. I just keep it G, I just keep it G, I just keep it G, baby, I just keep it G.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
The Hemp Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance of the cannabis sativa plant. You can find the latest issue of the Hemp Connoisseur at more than 200 7-Elevens, your favorite dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Do you consider yourself a cannabis connoisseur? Then come be a part of the Hemp Connoisseur's first Cannabis Championship. Visit us at thcmag.com for info on how to sample the best medicine Colorado has to offer.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
And we're back. My back feels better. Got medicated. If you want to dial the phone, sir, I'm going to ramble for a second and finish what I was saying before. Before the break, before our last guest, we were talking about sponsors. We Grow Colorado's down on Bijou in Colorado Springs. Drew is an amazing grower. He does a segment. He'll be on next week to talk some growing. And Independent Records, concert tickets, movies, records, all that fun stuff. They've got it. Go see them. Spend some money. Hopefully Morgan answers. I just talked to him.
Hello?
Hey, Morgan, it's Stickman. How are you?
Oh, good.
We've got you here live with myself. It's kind of lonely. I lost my co-host recently. She had to move on to go back to a real job. So,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take my time. We'll find a new one. You got to find the right person. But you've known me long enough to know that I like to talk, so I think we'll survive. So,
excellent.
I just got off the phone, or we just got off the phone with Mason here in Colorado, Mason Tavert, who you probably know pretty well, I'm assuming. We got kind of a local perspective on Amendment 64 and talked about some of the things that I've been hearing in the crowd about, objections, concerns, worries, that type of thing. So MPP, you guys have kind of been near and dear to me personally with the DC thing, helping on logistical stuff and whatnot. And you guys I'm going to let you jump in and kind of give a history of MPP, and then we'll talk about your involvement in Amendment 64. But you guys have been around for quite a while, and you definitely play a role that I'm not so comfortable playing. So go ahead.
We've been around since, we've been around since 1995, and we are the nation's largest nonprofit marijuana reform organization. We concentrate primarily on federal and state level lobbying and on ballot initiatives such as Amendment 64.
And with that, Morgan, I know there's a few initiatives. You guys aren't primarily in Colorado, are you? What else are you helping out with this year?
Well, we're also working on medical marijuana ballot initiatives in Arkansas and North Dakota, and we are lobbying heavily for a medical marijuana bill in Illinois.
Nice. Well, kudos on the Arkansas. I saw that it will be on the ballot. The signatures have been turned in, and so far so good on them kicking them back, or lack thereof.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it.
Illinois I'm not familiar with, which is exciting to me. That's my home state. Is there actually active legislation in Illinois, or is this something that you guys are still working towards?
This is active legislation. We've been pushing a same or similar bill for the last several years now, and last session we got very, very, very close, down to just a couple of votes.
Nice. Yeah, I did follow that last session, and had my fingers crossed, and unfortunately Illinois is one of those states that's a little slower than a lot of the others. We actually just talked about a news story out of Illinois tonight that they've now okayed, basically wiretaps of anything, I believe, for law enforcement during a drug investigation, which I'm sure you would agree is worrisome on quite a few levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys, for folks who don't know, MPP is based, your home office is in D.C. You guys do a lot on the federal level as well. I mean, your day-to-day, what does MPP as an organization accomplish in your day-to-day?
Well, actually, we've been concentrating primarily on state-level work right now just because we found that the traction in the federal government is such that we're not really making any forward progress until we have enough states that are starting to make reforms to put pressure on their federal elected representatives. But we do continue to put pressure on them, both for descheduling and removal, and also a couple of federal bills that we've been working on recently to try to tax and regulate marijuana, or at least get the feds out of marijuana enforcement and leave it up to the states.
Real quick, to touch on those, what is the progress? I know there's a bill, and forgive me for not having the number in front of me, and I'm sure it's the one you're referring to, that does just that. It gives you an affirmative defense, and this is another bill that's been up time and time again over the last few years, only to narrowly be defeated a few times. Is that one of the bills you guys are talking about?
Yes, there's several bills actually being considered right now. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to be able to get an open floor debate or a vote on any of them in the near future, but as long as we keep building pressure, and I think that if any of the 6 ballot initiatives that are being considered this November win, it's going to put the federal government in a position where they have to start to reconsider this issue in a very public way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think, with all of our work, I think we're already getting to that point anyway. I was talking with Mason, how impressive it is, here in Colorado and throughout the country to see, this issue coming to light in every demographic, whether it be the far Christian right, whatever the case may be. Historically, groups that have opposed us and thought that we were a bunch of dirty hippies playing PlayStation in our parents' basement. So
a failed policy is a failed policy, regardless of your political bent or ideology, and people are really starting to realize that.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, I talk about it a lot here. I enjoy talking to conservatives. I in a lot of aspects, I am a conservative. I'm very much a fiscal conservative, and really, you just hit the nail on the head, and that's really the angle we have to bring it to the public in is where is the justification for the drug war, and let's look at the casualties as opposed to, the cost of the drug war. I mean, the bottom line is an average of something like 11,000 people every year die from all quote-unquote illegal drugs. And we know the numbers for legal drugs. I mean, it's well into the millions at this point if you consider caffeine and tobacco and alcohol.
And prescription pharmaceuticals.
Absolutely, which is really the quickest growing epidemic, nationwide at this point. And correct me if I'm wrong, is there not also some new legislation from a week or two ago dealing with pharmaceuticals?
Not that I'd heard. I could be wrong, though.
Okay, I'll research that, and we'll talk about it next week. But I'm pretty sure on the federal level, they're trying to do something. They're trying to increase penalties or something. And, we have to really – I'll get your opinion on this. I think with all drug laws, we have to look at the bigger picture. And I really don't think – and I know MPP doesn't think that putting people in cages is the solution to this.
Absolutely, and I know that a growing segment of the American population agrees with us.
Yeah, I believe, and it's been a little while since I've seen a poll, but I do believe, for medical at least, we're right at about 80% nationwide. It teeters with full legalization right around 50%, which is super exciting because you have to, take into account our undecided population. So, Morgan, you actually mentioned that, you guys are concentrating on state initiatives and state activism, but I want to point out, and again give you guys kudos because the one bill that would give me as a patient protection, I have a daughter who lives in the Midwest and I travel. And in doing so, every time I leave the state, obviously, I'm in pain, so I need medication. I'm forced to make a choice. What this law, I'm going to let you give an overview if you're capable real quick to educate people what this law will actually do. I feel it's very important that we get behind this and behind you guys and support this because it really does add a huge protection for people like me.
I'm not sure which law you're referring to, but I think that you're talking about reciprocity, which is something that we're trying to encourage in every medical marijuana state. It already exists in several of them.
Well, there's that one, and then there's also, the basically affirmative defense in a federal case. It gives us a thin layer of protection as I'm traveling to see family or whatever the case may be. And you guys may not even be involved in that. I'm not sure. If not, I apologize.
No, we haven't been directly involved in that, but we definitely support it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think the reciprocity is huge as well. I know as a patient here in Colorado, I have 5 states, but, we're up in the teens now, and it'd be nice to be able to travel to all those with medicine.
Absolutely. Well, if all of the ballot initiatives win, then we're going to be up to if all the ballot initiatives win and the Illinois bill passes, we're going to be up to 21 medical marijuana states. And at that point, it's going to be almost impossible for people to really say that, look, you can't travel with your medicine.
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd. And I mean, as of now, I actually researched, a couple of years ago, I was headed home to see family. So I called, the airport, and I called Homeland Security and here in Denver, and was told basically they don't care. They're like, if we stop you, the TSA is going to call the airport police. They're going to check your red card, and there's nothing we can do. So essentially,
unfortunately, it's up to the local TSA and local police to determine whether or not they're going to allow that. I know that a lot of cities in California and in Montana do allow travel.
Well, and I think, that was the attitude. I talked to a supervisor with the TSA, and they actually referred me to the police, who referred me back to the TSA. But that was their sentiment here, which was great. I mean, I think what we're seeing is a huge shift in attitude in law enforcement and lawmakers in general. There is that common sense factor kind of surfacing, so it's definitely reassuring. If I can keep you around for just a few more minutes, I'm going to jump just a couple minutes early to a quick break. I've got a couple more questions for you, and then we'll let you get on with your night.
Actually, if possible, could we keep going now, because I'm late for a meeting right at the moment?
Yes, sir, we can do that. I just, real quick, I wanted to, and it's not going to take much more time, but I just wanted to get what you guys are up to locally there. If there's any events coming up that you want to plug that people need to be out at.
We just came back from HempFest, and I thought it was great or Seattle HempFest, and I thought it was great that there was such a high turnout there. To the best of my knowledge, there aren't really any events coming up except for our Bootleggers Ball coming up in, I believe, September in San Francisco. So if people are interested, they can check that out on the website. It's mpp.org.
Nice, right on. And if people there in DC or really nationwide, they want to get involved, I'm sure they can just visit the website and it'll walk them right through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also involved. We're on Facebook and Twitter. We make it really, really easy for people to contact their elected representatives to the point where it's basically just like a couple of mouse clicks. And I think that that's really important. Politicians need to hear from people and need to know that, they don't have to worry about not being elected because they seem soft on crime when they're interested in marijuana reform. It's an issue that the public is starting to support more and more, and politicians need to know it. The only way they're going to know that is if people contact them and let them know it.
I agree, sir. I went on a rant at the beginning of the show tonight about, I was telling Mason, calling people out how we all need to be involved, and sending emails and phone calls are something that anyone can do. It's not just the people making money who need to help out. It's everyone. It's patients. It's anyone who knows a patient, supports a patient. We're going to be in D.C. again in October. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be able to get out there. The station's keeping me kind of busy. I'll talk to you again off the air soon, and hopefully we can get one of you guys out to talk a little bit. We're going to be there with Moms for Marijuana. They're doing a big quilt for the White House. Our next guest is going to chat with us about that a little bit. So, Morgan, thanks for your time. And again, keep up the great work, and we'll get you back on soon and check on 64's progress.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, sir. All right. You too. I think we're going to cut away again real quick for a commercial, and we'll be right back here on Overgrowth Radio, on iCannabis Radio. Peace.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley Brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand grown by the Stanley Brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance of the cannabis sativa plant. You can find the latest issue of the Hemp Connoisseur at more than 200 7-Elevens, your favorite dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Do you consider yourself a cannabis connoisseur? Then come be a part of the Hemp Connoisseur's first cannabis championship. Visit us at thcmad.com for info on how to sample the best medicine Colorado has to offer.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
We have our pants on. At least I do. I don't know what Jason does behind the desk. He's the producer. I don't ask questions. Right now, he's going to call my friend Candace out on the East Coast. Kansas is a chapter leader for Moms for Marijuana. We're going to be joining them. And, sorry, someone's calling me while I'm on the air. Don't know who that was. We're going to be joining them on October for another protest to go say hi to the feds.
Hello.
Good evening, Miss Candace. How are you?
Hi, Jason. I'm good. How are you?
My name's not Jason. I'm Stickman. No, that's
Stickman.
Okay. Jason's fine, too. No, I'm kidding. I was just giving you a brief introduction. We had you on a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now.
Right.
I realize that you and I can rant very well and talk probably for hours about drug policy and drug reform and all that fun stuff.
I'm sure we can.
That's, our viewers love it when I ramble. It's fun. Anyway, you are a chapter leader out there for Moms for Marijuana. Is that the Maryland chapter, or is it?
I am. I'm the Maryland chapter leader.
And what do you do there for Moms for Marijuana? Tell us about Moms.
Well, Moms for Marijuana is a grassroots network and organization of parents and other citizens across the world who are concerned with this war that continues to be fought against the cannabis plant and how it is negatively affecting the future generations of this earth, our children. And we focus on raising awareness and promoting education and creating discussion regarding the cannabis plant. And we are growing like weeds. We have grown to 130 chapters in 15 countries around the world. And believe it or not, we've had over 20,000 likes on our main Facebook page in the last year alone. So we're out there doing great things, trying to get people talking about the truth about the cannabis plant.
Well, I say it a lot, but that's really the true reason why I work with you guys is because ladies get shit done and, men, we're just lazy.
We do. You can't argue with a mother,
Absolutely. I had a conversation, and I'm sort of repeating myself this evening, but I had a conversation today with a lady who runs a dispensary here in town about just that. Like the fact that mothers are coming out, whether you're a mother or not, females coming out historically is how change has happened. If you look at alcohol prohibition, it was the female population in the church who finally said, okay, enough's enough.
Right, absolutely.
It's really amazing to see, how you guys have grown. I chatted with Sarah back in the beginning of Moms, And from that time until now, you guys have just exploded. How
exploded? And to think that we started from a little MySpace page that Sarah created, and we have turned into this force to be reckoned with.
Oh, absolutely, you have. How long has Moms been around?
Well, I believe Sarah started the page in 2005. And once we hit Facebook, a few short years later, it's just taken off, and really taken off in the last year. So it's amazing what women can do. And we're not just women. We actually have a couple of dads, men that are chapter leaders. Matter of fact, my Baltimore chapter leader is a man, John Bryant.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a mom for marijuana.
That's right.
I had joint custody of my daughter for the first few years of her life until school came around. So, yeah.
So you were mom and dad.
Absolutely. So I think I qualify, right? I mean, I don't shave my legs because they're super, super hairy, but, you know. I even got my producer on that one. So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to keep you around for a little bit. We actually had our normal segment. Our attorney was sick this evening, so he's not going to be in. So we have a little extra time. For folks who don't know, I talked to Candace at the last minute, and we're like, oh, we need to plug our event. And I'm like, oh, God, when can we do it? So I did kind of squeeze you in, but it turned out rather well because now we have more time. So,
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We're going to go to D.C. on October 15th. This is something that Overgrow has done a few times now. We go to the Sylvan Theater, which is right under the Washington Monument for anyone who hasn't been there yet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful open theater. It's an amphitheater outside, and it is beautiful.
Huge stage, nice and shady up on the stage for the organizers and volunteers. And what are you guys doing, Candace? You had a purpose before I even chatted with you about joining up.
Let me tell you, Stickman, because, Moms for Marijuana really focuses on creating discussion, and we want to get people talking about the cannabis plant. We're always brainstorming about ways to do that. And this idea came from one of our moms. She's actually our Medicine Hills, Tennessee chapter leader and our director of fundraising. And she's the founder of the page Medical Marijuana for Tennesseans. But she came up with the idea for this quilt. Her name is Dana Arvidson.
And she's a board member for Overgrow the Government.
Yep. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned that, huh?
No, I'm just teasing you.
But it was inspired by the tremendous statement and awareness caused by the AIDS Memorial Quilt. Everybody knows about the AIDS quilt. We're working with our chapter leaders, our members, and other cannabis organizations around the country to complete this quilt that represents a showing of solidarity and unity in our demands for the legalization of cannabis. And then, beginning in October, our quilt is going to be sent across the United States, and it'll be on public display through a series of regional conferences where all our members will gather together and we'll raise awareness and network with others within our communities. And I'm very excited to say that our first Moms for Marijuana Regional Quilt Conference, where we will unveil our cannabis quilt, is a joint venture with Overgrow.
Yeah, you like that? I didn't even really
mean that.
I didn't even mean to write joint venture in that message I sent out that day. I just, I get in a hurry and things just come out. And it's funny, a lot of times in my life, I notice that things come out and sound a lot like they have to do with cannabis, whether they do or not.
Right. I know, and I find every time I write that to somebody or write it in something that I'm putting joint in quotes just so people understand.
Absolutely, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna on the air apologize for not being more active in this venture, if you will, but we wanted.
Hey, we're getting it done, and that's what matters.
Right, and we really kind of wanted to back away. I think talked to one of my board members early on, and let you guys take the steam on this, because it is, it was something you were doing, and it was like, hey,
Right.
I'm already working on a permit. Let's just do this. Dealing with DC, you guys, obviously, I had the permit going already. Getting a permit in DC is not easy. And when you tell them that you're doing something cannabis related, it's really not easy. The first overgrow, we actually had to threaten legal action before I got approved. That worked.
Well, I know how we were treated on July 4th when we did the smoke-in, and yeah, I can see how it would be hard in DC to get a permit. We're not exactly welcomed with open arms.
No, anyone who's friends with me on Facebook saw my last trip to DC through pictures. I got, as we talked about, I think the last time, they gave me a nice shoulder rub, and, well, they got a little too friendly for my liking, but, they said hi in their way. I actually, we'll talk about this a little bit. We're going to go to break in a little bit, but I'm going to keep you around and chat some more.
Sounds good.
Before you get a permit for every event, I have to do what they call a logistical meeting. And, they all introduce themselves, and you're on the phone with whoever wants to be on the phone, parks, police, the feds, whoever decides to listen in. And, after the last ordeal, and I've talked about this in detail on the show, for anyone who missed it, you have to go back and listen. I was harassed a little bit, I felt like, in D.C. I refused my search. They searched me. There was no cannabis, long story short. And, I filed a complaint and never heard. Well, lo and behold, when I answered the phone that day, one of the people who introduced themselves was Sergeant Murphy. And I wish that he was listening, because I'd love to address him personally. But Sergeant Murphy was not friendly with me at all. He ended up, I went back and forth with him, and he made a comment, well, can I speak? And I said, sir, I've been waiting to hear your voice for 3 months now. So, yes, please speak. Tell me what you have to say. So that got him, sidetracked. He got off on how it's not his responsibility to follow through with these investigations. He merely filed it. And this is the let's pass the buck to someone else. We don't care, you're a dumb pothead mentality of a lot of law enforcement. It was
right, and we're just going to give you a big runaround and not really take care of anything.
Pretty much. Well, I mean, there's a bigger issue there in general, not just with cannabis, that, police investigating themselves is always kind of a hoax anyway. But point being, D.C. is not an easy place to go. I'm sure you've been there. You're in the area. You were there for July 4th.
Oh, yes. I'm about 90 minutes from D.C.
They are very, from my experience with the police in general, they are very programmed. They don't show emotion. They don't care what you have to say. They don't care about rights. The Constitution's dead.
Yeah, that's about right.
It's so. I have questions too, and we're gonna ask more when we come back. But real quick, if I were a first timer to DC, one thing I want to talk about when we come back is how we can get people to help promote, because getting crowds out to DC is always a challenge because of what we just talked about. But if I'm a first timer coming to your rally, and I'm a mom, and I use medicine, whether it be from a legal state or not, what's the biggest warning you're going to give me about coming to DC as a patient?
Well, I guess I'm going to say leave your medicine at your hotel room. Don't bring it to the event. You're just taking a big chance in D.C. doing that. And, if you're just cool about it, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to draw attention to yourself in D.C. and then have cannabis in your pocket.
Absolutely not, because as I saw in my circumstance, they think sometimes cigarettes are cannabis. So absolutely be careful. And I'm just going to add real quick to that before we cut away for a commercial break that it's this crazy new technology with cannabis. There's edibles, there's oil, there's all these ways to ingest cannabis that last for a really long time.
Absolutely. Bring your cookies.
Right. Unfortunately, when I travel, I don't take the risk, and I bring my pharmaceuticals, which I hate. But, if you have to have medicine for pain, whatever that may be, you do your thing. I just have to back that up again and say that we can't endorse any illegal drug use in D.C. while at the event or anywhere else for that matter. They do have dispensaries. Hopefully, we were just talking with Morgan Fox, and hopefully their lobbying efforts will help, and soon we'll have reciprocity there. But for now, let's respect their crazy laws. So, Candace, will you stick around with us for a few minutes?
I sure will.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. We got to pay our sponsors' bills and our bills and everyone's bills and bills. We love you all. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to iCannabis Radio. Overgo the radio. Peace.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
The law offices of Vetson, Maiden, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance of the cannabis sativa plant. You can find the latest issue of the Hemp Connoisseur at more than 200 7-Elevens, your favorite dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Do you consider yourself a cannabis connoisseur? Then come be a part of the Hemp Connoisseur's first cannabis championship. Visit us at thcmag.com for info on how to sample the best medicine Colorado has to offer.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
We all have pants on here. Candace, do you have pants on? Oh, she hung up because I asked her if she had pants.
No, I'm here.
I'm being a smartass. Welcome back to Overgrow the Radio. We're here with Candace Junkin from Moms for Marijuana.
Hi.
Like to make fun of that new commercial. So I got to mention real quick that the Hemp Connoisseur, as everyone just heard, their championship, the first ever. It's exciting. I just talked to David, who owns the Hemp Connoisseur today, and I get to pick up meds, and so do all the other judges, the first week of September. Looks like their entries are just about full for judges. They have a couple spots for dispensaries still that want to get in and get their meds judged. Candace, I'm sure you're familiar with what cups are. We have quite a few here in Colorado.
Right.
Maybe someday you'll have them there as well.
Well, let's just hope so.
I'm actually very lucky that and I apologize. If anyone sends, I got to plug this real quick. If anyone sends me an email tonight at stickman20010@gmail.com before, let's say, 11 o'clock, I can offer you a half-price 5C's Cannabis Run ticket. It's normally $300. It's $150. Again, Candace, just to fill you in, the 5C's Run is a really cool cup because you get to go. It's all throughout the state, and what you do, or what I'm doing anyway, is taking like these little overnight mini vacations and hitting all my dispensaries and grabbing my meds and meeting all these cool people. And it's in awesome towns like Glenwood Springs and Durango, and just, Colorado's full of awesome, beautiful towns. So
yeah, sometimes I wish, I love the East Coast, but sometimes I wish I was in Colorado with all of you guys doing this fabulous stuff that you're doing.
We try, and well, we got to enjoy the mountains too. So that's rough.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody's got to do it. And I love the East Coast too. Maine is my number 2, very close behind Colorado.
Right.
When I moved here, I actually thought about Maine for quite a while, and the one thing that kept me from Maine was dispensaries. I mean, it's pretty simple. Once I did more research, I learned that, Colorado had the amendment and we were a little more protected and yada yada, so on and so forth. So anyway, we're talking about your cannabis quilt and that project, and I guess you said it's getting ready. I'm going to let you repeat yourself real quick for the folks who weren't here before the break or may have missed it. It's getting ready to be unveiled before DC, so I want you to hit on that again real quick.
Okay, we have our regional quilt conference. It's October 15th, like you said, at the Sylvan Theater, a joint venture with Overgrow. Just to mention, it's the day before ASA testifies at the federal rescheduling hearings.
Yeah, for 10 years they've been trying that. For 10
Right.
years it's been denied by the DEA or whoever. I'm sorry, I'm wrong there. And they finally have their day in court. So yes, Americans for Safe Access, I encourage all of us going to stay for an extra day and support this.
Right, but on the 15th, we're going to have our quilt unveiling. In D.C., we have several speakers lined up from organizations like Overgrow and Normal, LEAP, SSTP, MPP, ASA. We have some individual activists. We have music from area musicians. And it's going to be a really great day. And Moms is so excited to work with you guys and to unveil this project, this quilt that we are so passionate about.
Absolutely. I think it's kind of brings to light to the mother aspect of it. I like that you guys chose the quilt route. Of course, the AIDS quilt still is famous. It's very recognized by everyone. And, I think cannabis is getting to that level. I think nowadays there's really no one out there who isn't either directly or indirectly affected by the war on cannabis.
Well, I went to the beach recently with my parents. They have a place on the Outer Banks, and my father has Parkinson's disease. And he was a military man in civil service for 45 years, and I never thought I would hear him say, I would really like to use that for my disease. So even my 65-year-old dad is, thinking about cannabis differently nowadays. I think as we educate more and more people and people see that it's not the monster drug the government wants us to believe it is.
Well, and that's you just hit on a good point. That's another demographic that's really stepping up and that people listen to is senior citizens. I'm going to give a little spoiler alert here, but we're going to have the Black Tuna, Robert Platshorn, is going to be on.
Yeah.
He's going to be on in September with us to chat about what he's doing. And that's his primary focus these days. And I don't want to give too much away, but recently we've seen the feds come in and try to shut him down from doing what we all do, and that's just talk. They're scared to death of that because they know the more that these groups like senior citizens and ladies and different groups are educated, and the more we step together as a whole, it's there's no more denying it. I think we're almost to that point.
And they don't have a problem with filling my father full of pharmaceuticals that make him feel like crap. But they have a problem with letting him use a medicine that would help him, that wouldn't make him feel like crap, would make him feel better.
Absolutely.
They're scared of it.
Well, yeah, I think that's, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that I think that's a big reason why senior citizens are so in favor, a majority in favor of cannabis use, at least for medicinal purposes, is, it's their quality of life. It's the end of their life. They realize that. Do they want to take a bunch of pills and feel like crap, or do they want to smoke a little cannabis and be able to function and enjoy their life? It's really, I think, that simple.
It is that simple. And I tell people, and they don't have to smoke it. They can eat it. They can vaporize it. They can take it in so many different ways.
Sure,
it would really help.
We were talking the other day. We even have suppositories out here now. So
well, I don't know if I want to go that far.
My producer just looked at me funny, but that's true. I mean, I read an article, and I'm pretty sure it was either like Colorado or California one. They've developed suppositories, so there absolutely is every possible way. You know, I eat oil twice a day, and that's my pain meds. You know, for the most part. So yeah, I mean, there is the old stereotype you have to smoke a joint, and that's just so not true these days. There's far safer ways to ingest. I mean, I'm very animate about there are really no dangers with cannabis, you know. But if you roll a joint, there is the paper. That's dangerous.
Right.
But people, you know, there's so many concerns and so many stereotypes that have been brought forward from decades of old, if you will. And that's really where you and I and everyone out there that I've talked to tonight, where we're important and where we need to continue what we're doing. We're at a point where we have to educate, and it's just the simple things like that. God, you know, it's not going to kill you. You're not going to run off.
Moms for Marijuana always says, it's time to talk about this.
Absolutely. Well, we're definitely going to do some talking. I think we're going to try to get out of here a few minutes early. We, as I mentioned before, we lost a segment tonight, so we'll be back full force next week with the full 2 hours and not just an hour and a half. Before we go, Candace, we've got some info to get from you. I know we're doing a joint venture, but how do folks get a hold of Moms for Marijuana if they want to be involved?
We have our website. It's momsformarijuana.com. And also on Facebook, our biggest presence is really on Facebook. It's amazing. Is simply facebook.com/moms4, the number 4, MJ. And that's the easiest ways to get a hold of us. And you can find all your local chapters on our website and join and support us.
Absolutely, ma'am. Well, you guys keep up the great work, and we'll get together soon on the phone and get back to work on DC.
Sounds great, Stickman. We'll talk soon.
Yes, ma'am. Have a great night. Thanks for being on the show.
You too. Good night.
Night. So next week, Jason, it's going to be a little more exciting because there's going to be people in our studio. We've got a lot of great other shows here on iCannabis Radio. One of the new shows is IDAB Radio, where they basically come in, hang out, smoke wax, talk about extracts, concentrates, that type of thing. So I'm ignorant. I'm an idiot. I don't know much about wax. I know I like it a lot. I know it's my new thing, but I want to learn about it. So Dan from Top Shelf Extracts and IDAB Radio is going to be in with one of his cohorts. And we're also going to talk, we've also been lucky enough to move recently, and our new neighbor is a grow shop. So the guy who owns it, Quincy, is a great guy. He's going to be in, and we're going to talk about all of the crazy pesticides and chemicals nowadays to help you grow the best meds. So next week should be super exciting. We've got some other really great shows coming up in the next few weeks. On September 6th, I just have to mention, we're working really closely now with Dixie Elixirs here on Overgrow Radio. Dixie has a new line of products coming out that is THC free for the most part. It's made out of hemp paste, hemp, not cannabis. So they will be able to sell this in 50 states. It's high in CBDs and CBNs and all that good stuff still. So folks with MS and Parkinson's and cancer can still get the benefit without going to jail. So kudos to Dixie. They do great things. They're involved in so much here locally, and just being able to get the medicine out. I will have the proper details and plugs for that next week, I promise, but Trip will be on the 5th, and we'll spend an hour talking all about it. So make sure to stay with us and tune into all the other great programming here on iCannabisradio.com. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Peace.